Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on this wonderful, amazing planet of ours. You're now locked into the second most amazing place on this planet, and that is the RedFellas. Sunday night LFC therapy, premium LFC therapy. Thank you very much for joining us. You already can see we've got a full house. It's amazing. This is what you call loyalty. This is what you call support. This is what you call true fandom. Like when you go through thick and thin through your club, these guys are here for you. This is what I'm talking about. Thank you very much for joining us. Of course, Cav, Conroy, Keith, Steve, and Sacregard himself. Hope you guys are all doing well. Everything looks rosy. I'm just checking out all your backgrounds and your green screens, and everything looks fine. And then I look at Keith's, and people often ask me, why do I wear hats? And I tell them, well, it's not because I'm insecure or anything, because you guys already know I'm very proud of my hair or lack of it or whatever. But I said, if I had hair like Keith, I would flaunt it, and I would flaunt my hair dryer as well in the background. Because right now, if people want to know how Keith gets that hairstyle so trim, so pristine, so perfect, my brother, it looks like you're in a hairdresser's right now. People tell me otherwise. Does it look like he's in a hairdresser's right now? Because with that background, that hairdresser, the background, bro, how'd you do it, man?
Grizz, the only word you're missing there is volume. That's how we get volume. Yeah,
volume. That's the one. You've revealed all my secrets. But yes,
you revealed all your secrets.
I revealed all my secrets today. But yes, the hairdryer, man, it goes in. It has to be done. Yes, I am that guy.
Fair enough. Is that guy, man? People, man. Yeah, we could learn a thing or two. You know what, Evan? The way your beard's going, man, you're gonna need that shit on your beard soon, bro. That's like some serious growth there, man. How long's that?
It's impressive.
Very.
This is. I want to say late November to now, roughly.
Wow.
So I was growing it out before then, and then I decided I wanted to be Ted Lasso for Halloween, and Ted Lasso obviously only has the mustache. So I had to shave the beard for the Halloween party and then start over. And so this is where we're at now. I was thinking before I got on, I was like, do you think Liverpool will win a game by the time I decide to go back to the mustache only? So maybe I keep growing it until Liverpool win a game. So we'll see.
Oh, mate. Yeah, that could be tricky. Steve, have you, just a very, very simple question. Have you ever had a beard? Like, have you been into beards or just a stubble at the max?
I used to have a goatee.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And
interesting.
I shaved it off. My American boss said, "Hey, buddy, I much prefer you without the Fu Manchu." So
the what?
The Fu Manchu, which is an old cutter, I read to me with a proper goatee beard. I thought, you know what? That's probably good enough reason to not do it again. So there you go.
No, fair enough. Cav, I got to ask you now about facial hair. It's all about either hairstyles or facial hair. You got the hairstyle. What about the facial hair? Like just a little bit of growth there.
I could only dream of having the Evan's beard. I'm
any secrets, envious. Ev? Any secrets to share? Like sort of like I can give you my secrets, but if I give you my secrets, you're gonna start getting hair on your chest, on your shoulders, on your arms, everywhere. So you don't want my secrets. So have you got any beard secrets for maybe Conroy and Cav? Because I've seen Conroy try it.
Yeah. Obviously, so much is genetics, but to the people who are trying to like go long and get it like burly, don't put like regular shampoo in your beard. Like warm water, soapy water is more than enough. Don't put like hair shampoo in your beard. It's bad for it. It's bad for it.
There you go, Kev. There you go.
I'm not even at that point. I ain't shampooing.
Yeah, no, that obviously doesn't help him. That obviously doesn't help him. In Kev's case, I don't know, Kev. Maybe just hang in there.
Just fingers crossed for me, and it will come one day.
Beard therapy, people. Facial hair therapy, hairstyle therapy. We got you covered. But what we specialize in is these guys. our sponsors, channel sponsors. Shout out yourfutcard.com, people. Your go-to place for all your FUT cards. Any size, any background, any color, any number of stats that you want on them. If you want 99 pace, you can have 99 pace. Guys, can I ask a very, very quick question? If anybody knows, can you get 100?
Nah.
In fact,
No.
99 is the highest.
Well, in FIFA, 99 is the highest they will go for any rating or stat. But maybe on yourfootcard.com, maybe they let you go all the way to 100 on your.
Well, the best thing to do is chat with them. Go there and chat with them. This is the most amazing part. This instant help for you. Get your custom flags made. Listen, if you just read through their testimonies of the customers, such satisfaction, happy with the service, brilliant people, brilliant service. If you type in RedFellas at the checkout, you even get 15% discount. What more do you want, guys? I have some samples. Guys, how much do we miss this guy? How much do we miss this guy? Just to make you feel even more sad, Luis Diaz, look at this. Check this out. We have Mohamed Salah looking rather gloomy, and rightly so. We may touch upon Mohamed Salah. He's looking a bit sad, but check the quality out, man. This is proper stuff, man. I'm telling you. Unfortunately, it seems to be like, you know, every card I've got is like of an injured person, and we're missing dramatically. But it is what it is, man.
It's a trip down memory lane with some of those ratings.
Jurgen Klopp in happier moods. You know, this is the one at Wembley, I think. Maybe. And then we got something, you know, topical and relevant right now as well. I think probably the form player in the Premier League right now. What a performance he's just put in today. But look at these prints, guys. This is serious business, man. Yourfutcard.com. Anything you want printed, they will print it for you, arrange it for you, send it out to you, all sorted. Guys, how are we? Everything good? The Premier League kicked off with the most, probably one of the most fiercest rivalries in recent times. Liverpool-Chelsea, as Liverpool fans, obviously. But the game lived up to its billing. I think the billing was I don't know, people calling it El Crapico, all kinds of names.
El Clownico.
And what was they calling it?
El Clownico, was it?
Yeah, El Clownico, whatever you want to call it, people were calling it, and it lived up to its billing. How did it feel, guys? If you guys watched the game we just witnessed, or I just witnessed, from that to that, how did it make you feel that within a matter of 8 to 12 months, it seems like we're so far off the two teams that we watched today? How did you just feel? I just want to get a quick feeling of emotions. Conroy?
Yeah, I think people, like say in the chat, disappointed. I think everything goes through cycles. The thing is, I'm okay with other teams playing better because that's inevitably going to happen. It's the fact when you compare with your team and you're so far off that's the frustrating thing. Like, I'm not this angry at other teams because that's life, that's football. It always happens. You're always going to have cycles. But the fact that we're so far off it and the lack of continuity or contingency to at least try to keep in contention through either sales or tactically or whatever you want to say, that makes it bad, to be honest. And I think the thing that annoys me the most, not even annoys me, but is there's a lot of players in that team as well. When you talk about Arsenal specifically, that they rated like young players. Saka came in. Like, if you look at where Saka is right now, how much his value is to come from Arsenal's academy, to look at Nketiah, who scores the winner today against United, to even Odegaard, which people were writing him off, and there's a few players in there as well that you just feel like they've not like been massive signings that have been bought in, and they're challenging for a league title, potentially favourites. I think that's what makes it very frustrating. Also, another thing as well, even like Trossard, for example, comes on today, is involved in the winning goal. There's such a good feeling, and I'd say Man United and Arsenal, but especially Arsenal, that a player can just come on. And I think when you think about Gakpo and Trossard, there's a stark difference in coming to a team that's in good form, confidence is there, people are believe in the team compared to us. And I think that's quite a good comparison to, that's quite a, what's the word did you call that? It's an analogy of where we are. That's maybe used the wrong way, but that's how I look at it.
Cav, I see elements of this Arsenal team in us, in the way they've. Would you say in the way they've gone about it? They've gone through the dark times, ownership trouble, stuck with then gone for I suppose they've gone for a younger manager where we went for a slightly more experienced manager. But in terms of the way they're set up and the way they play with intensity and youthfulness and pacey wingers and a false nine in Gabriel Jesus, but obviously Nketiah now. I compare Nketiah to our Origi when he stepped in and done a marvelous job as well, a goal poacher. Then you got two great one-on-one centre backs like we had as well. One attacking fullback, one very clever fullback, Trent and Robbo. I call Trent the very clever fullback and Robbo the attacking fullback. Similarities are there. I felt really depressed. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be honest. I felt really depressed watching them and thinking, wow, it didn't need to be like this so quickly, so soon.
Yeah, there is shades of the Liverpool of old in this Arsenal team. A lot of the points you just said, all of them, yeah, you're dead right. Yeah, some contrast between the two sides. But they are slightly different in the sense, you know, Zinchenko sort of tucks in, starts at left back, but he overloads the midfield and adds an extra body in there. Probably took that from what he learned at Man City and Pep Guardiola's idea. They play with a 10 in Odegaard, he's one of probably the best midfielders in the league this season. He's fantastic. Do you guys see that pass that he played through to Xhaka? That Martinez just got. I mean, like when he did that, you're just like, wow, you know, that only happens when you're in such like confident form and you just try things, and it was remarkable. But they really responded well today to going a goal down and being, you know, frustrated by United, because United, once they got that goal, they kind of sat back and stuff. But the pressure was relentless, and the similarity that they have to what we had when we were at our best was that it didn't matter that the team was sitting back. It didn't matter that they were trying to frustrate you. The crowd was on their side, and you just kind of knew the goal was coming because they're so confident in what they're doing, and they have so much attacking flair, especially in that forward line, that it's that they're a real force, just like we were. But as I say, they do things slightly different. They're not completely the same to what we were, but they're a fantastic team. And just to answer your earlier point, how it makes me feel, well, we would all like to be, you know, better than what we are at the minute. And obviously Arsenal top of the league, so of course we're slightly jealous of what they're doing. But actually, I looked at that United side and I was slightly jealous at the fact that Ten Hag was making some tactical tweaks and some very smart selection of players to try and nullify some of Arsenal's threats. And I was like, actually, I'd like a little bit of that as well. You know, a little bit of tactical flexibility to be a bit more solid. And he made a few, but, you know, putting Wan-Bissaka at right back, he doesn't offer anything going forward, but he's a very good one-on-one defender. And I know he got caught out for the goal, but very smart to put him in to deal with someone like Martinelli. And I just think things like that is something we could have been better with this season.
Yeah. We're going to touch upon the tactical side of things, where we are, what our plans are tactically moving forward as well. AJ's just reminded me and us to hit the likes. Great content deserves a like. Oh, these set of lads deserve likes. I mean, maybe I don't, but these guys definitely deserve some lovely likes. That's all we ask for. Super chat from Pimp in Distress. I think Red's in Distress. Can you change your name to Red's in Distress, please? That's what we are right now. Evening, G in the panel. This is beginning to feel like regular counselling. This is at you, Evan, so I'm going to come to you first. Give me something to talk me back from the edge, G. Relax, metaphorically, thank God. Yeah, look, I guess we get into regular counselling, Evan. It seems like a weekly occurrence. This counselling thing, man, and Liverpool stuff, man. What's going on?
Well, you know, I kind of just wanted to vent and talk some shit, but I guess I got to be everybody's therapist right now. Okay, positives. Tough times don't last. Liverpool are extremely rich, as we've, you know, Deloitte Money League reports coming out within the last week. Those off the pitch gains, man, we gotta talk about it. I mean, in all seriousness, that is something to feel good about. I mean, 10 years ago, it was almost unthinkable to think that Liverpool would usurp the commercial giant that is Manchester United and be just penny shy of the unstoppable force that is Real Madrid. So regardless of how everyone feels about ownership or a change of ownership or on-pitch things, it's nice to know that Liverpool are in a very strong financial position to get themselves out of this hole that they currently are in. So that is your silver lining and your beacon of sunshine.
See, that's brilliant. No, but I love the way that last sentence should be a massive part of the consolation to Liverpool fans up and down the country and all around the world. Because what you said at the end, because the rest some could take as, oh, and still I come to you with this. It's very easy to say, oh, shut up about off the pitch and shut up about the marketing and shut up about our financial state. But you learn from mistakes, or you hope to learn from mistakes as fans, as owners, as players, and as coaches, as a collective. And we've seen many a cycle of a team end, but depending on their financial strength and their foundation, they can go again. We have made mistakes. We've on this channel, because I've been on pretty much every show, I know, so no one can lie. It's all there. You can go and check. We've called out the mistakes openly, candidly, and blatantly. But what we can say for positive, because that super chat was asking for some positives, is that we are in a situation that enables us to strike back, doesn't it, Steve?
Of course it does. We are rich. We've known this. Just don't choose to spend the money. They don't choose to operate the club the same way that some of our rivals do, with £200 million worth of losses every year. They choose not to do that. Obviously building a case to sell the football club, but in terms of who buys the football club, here's a positive note. Couldn't ask for much more, really, could you? The ground's in tremendous shape. The training ground is state of the art. The finances are absolutely superb. There's no £600 million debt to pay as part of your acquisition. So lots of positives for someone coming into the football club, which means they get to hit the ground running. So right from day one, it's about, this is what it is today. What does it become next week, next year? What do we need to do to get Liverpool Football Club to be back on top of the pile, looking down on everybody else? It's much, much easier when your infrastructure is as solid and as strong as ours, and the finances are in a really strong position. You've got no case to answer to financiers. So there will be a lot to be grateful for when the baton changes hands. And there's very little for somebody to do to put us in a position where whoever buys United's got to basically rebuild Old Trafford, got to basically rebuild Carrington's, got £1 billion worth of debt to service. Then they can start thinking about an infrastructure and what we do on the pitch. So good we're not in that position.
Yeah, I just want to expand on that, or at least sort of clarify. I think people in the chat might have got mistaken what I was trying to say. Obviously, what Liverpool do with that money is a source of huge controversy, and it's divisive in its own opinion. Basically, what I was saying is, like Steve says, because financially things are so good, when a bargain is struck with FSG and a potential new owner, it should be, in theory, pretty seamless. And that's something to be positive about. So there you go.
Exactly. People need to establish what we're talking about and put it into context, as opposed to suggesting that we're just insinuating, oh, we've got money, so therefore everything is fine. We're saying we've got money, which is the foundation to success, hopefully going forward, moving forward, because hopefully any new owners, and look, I've seen all of these, you guys, like you can do this all you want and all you like, but it won't make any difference to their decision. I assure you guys, they are going out. And I've told you these guys, that's my opinion, and it's only a matter of time. So if you're going to come into my chat, because you already know what the RedFellas is about, if you're going to come into my chat and just spam this same shit, right, you're wasting your time, your energy, and you're going to look like a dickhead, because I'm going to block you, and then you're just going to be upset. Oh, he didn't let us have your say. I did. I'm letting you have your say. Look, I'm bringing it out. But I've told you guys, this is not the way I choose to operate my channel. They will do what they need to do, and I believe they have realized they have taken us as far as they can, and so therefore the club will be sold. So doing hashtags on a YouTube channel is just I don't know. If you think that's how you want to spend your Sunday night, fair play. But Keith, we want to spend our night talking about our beloved Reds through thick and thin. I'm gonna go into the game with you, bro. Liverpool, Chelsea, one of my used to be my the game that used to drive me crazy. I have no apologies in saying I fucking hate Chelsea. Chelsea are on a close level to proximity in terms of I hate them nearly as much as United. I looked at the two lineups, and I think Cav's got the lineups there. I'm not sure. Is that the lineups there? I looked at the two lineups going into this game. I don't know about you. I just thought, yo, man, what is this? What is this?
It was really interesting that for once, both set of pundits on BT Sport kind of drove home the fact that what you see here compared to literally what you just saw from these two teams, not even half what I say about 4 or 5 months ago, is like the polar opposites. You'd almost like see this type of selection if it was a League Cup 4th, 5th round game, Liverpool versus Chelsea. That was the teams that were put out by both teams, in my opinion, today. So when you saw it, you just knew it was going to be a game of both teams not really going to give it their all. I take that back. Not give it their all, but more, be tactically and technically astute to play in the position with the players alongside them. You knew it was going to be one of those type of games. And to be perfectly honest with you, I'd rather have played Chelsea today with this lineup than have gone in this lineup against someone who's much more informed, as we have just done with Brighton and Brentford. So it's kind of, if there's any team you wanted to play in this scenario, a big team, it would have been Chelsea in this state. The Elliott selection for me was something that's just the whole solutions on that left-hand side the past few games have been a bit, it doesn't make sense to me. And it'd be really interesting for Klopp to explain this, because at one stage, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain was played as almost like a Bobby Firmino replacement. He played in that position for some time last season. Yet he's pushed out to the left. Gakpo goes through the middle. We've got Fabio Carvalho, who's been also playing in that position for quite a few games this season. He's either come on for Luis Diaz or started if Luis Diaz has had a knock, and he's nowhere to be seen. And we have Elliott in this position and Gakpo through the middle. I think Gakpo has got something about him that will hopefully come good at some stage. But one thing that I don't believe he is or ever will be, maybe he might be as time goes on, is a number 9. I never thought he was good through the middle for Holland, in my opinion. And I don't think he offers anything. So you're playing Gakpo, who's already just come into this team and it's just started in he looks unnatural. It looks like an unnatural position for him insofar as playing in a new system in an unnatural position and then experimenting with players in the wide left area who have never really played in that position, when we've got other players who have and they're not playing in that position. So this has become a bit of a bugbear for me, because it's becoming a bit of an issue. In our attacking situation, bless Elliott, defensively, he did a lot better than Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain did. But in the offensive positions, it was lost. And I think that area is really hurting us at the moment. So when I saw that, I was frustrated, if you will. And I'd be really interested to understand Klopp's thinking behind experimenting with players who are right-footed, who've never played in that position, versus putting Gakpo in there and actually putting, if you're going to do something, put someone like Oxlade-Chamberlain through the middle. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Con, I think this was on the back of the morale-boosting win against Wolves. And because we spoke about sort of the energy in midfield, which was the most apparent thing, obviously Elliott scores the winning goal. So we think to ourselves, and the question all week was, will he revert back to the tried and tested Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago, or will he persevere with the young Bajcetic? Will Naby get another game? And will Elliott keep his place? And then which suggests Salah might come in. It was a mix and mix, wasn't it? It was a mixture of all the suggestions that we had. Could you see the thinking behind it? Could you see the tweaking and did you agree with, for example, the Bajcetic inclusion? Let's just start with that, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was Wolves during the week, but still, it was still the best performance I've seen by a midfield this season. That's not a very high bar, don't get me wrong, but still, it definitely was, and I'd rather give them more game time. So I was very happy that Bajcetic and it was Thiago Keita in midfield. I was happy with that. And people are forgetting Elliott was brilliant. Elliott, I've been critical of Elliott at times, but on the right wing, I had said it. There's this obsession. You need to be fast to be a winger. That's not the case, especially if you want to be, inverted coming inside, using your technical ability in the ball. He got man of the match against Wolves as well. Let's not forget that. He was superb, scored a great goal. Thought he looked confident. It was quite clear that he can do a job for us out there. And I thought he was very much involved. So it's one thing saying let's keep the midfield, which I agree with, but then to take the best player from that performance, for the first time you've had a clean sheet and actually looked resembling a decent play and play him out of position, it's a bit counterproductive, is it not? It's a bit like saying the highlight of this game, but we're going to play you at left wing, which we're notorious for not being very good at playing players who play on wingers who play with their actual the side of where their natural foot is, if you know what I mean. Is that so? Say like apart from Mane, Salah can't play on his own side. His left winger is shocking there, and I think no one realised maybe Diaz slightly can, but we're not very good at it. Usually we want our wingers to be their opposing foot. It must, playing inverted, so coming into their stronger foot. So I was a bit baffled by that decision. Why not, let's say, the youngest and most inexperienced player there can play right wing, and that's where he plays well. So why don't we let him play there because he is the youngest? Why don't we play the player who's the most experienced and our go-to in Salah down the middle, who's played there previously, and then play Gakpo in his position instead of we're going to move this to suit Salah, who's been poor there anyway recently. So it's not like he was going to take the game by the scruff of the neck from that position. Surely it would be better to play him in the middle, play Gakpo, and then bring Nunez on after 60 minutes. Like, that's logical thinking, but instead you kind of hang the kid out to dry, to be honest, by playing him at left wing. He tries his best there, and then after 60 minutes put him into centre mid where we know he's not played well this season. So it's just some of the decisions I just don't get, to be honest. And I feel like, yes, I was happy in the midfield, I was very happy in midfield, but then when the game starts and I see Harvey Elliott playing left wing, I'm like, what is... Oh, it felt like
that feeling. That
make Salah at right wing, which he didn't deserve because he's not played that well. So it's like, sorry, Grizz, on you go.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's that head in hands feeling, wasn't it, Cav, as well? Like we thought the one of the decisions would be Matip or Gomez. We kind of thought it would be Gomez because Matip has joined the Fabinho, Henderson sort of levels of non-performance, let's just say. And I'm going to say it, people have sort of called out Henderson, but not Fabinho. Some are calling Fabinho, not Henderson. I'm going to label all of them shit this season. And I think Matip joined that crew. So I thought Gomez was going to start. Obviously, I think it was Trent had a little bit of a strain. So he was unsure about his fitness. And Nunez obviously unsure about his fitness as well. So that's understandable. The Nunez and Trent is understandable. James Milner comes in. How do you feel about James Milner being drafted into right back when Calvin Ramsey is available? But actually, we won't touch onto that because I'm going to talk about the succession planning. Because Gomez could have gone to right back. That's an option and bring in Matip. But Milner keeps getting rolled out, which, don't get me wrong, he done a fantastic job for while he was on the pitch. And maybe adding on to what Conroy's speaking about, the moving of the forwards. Did it make any sense in your brain what the plan could have been? Because obviously there's always two sides to the story. Maybe we're not seeing something that maybe the coaches and Klopp tried to see.
I'm trying, and I'll be honest, I can't quite see it. I understand Elliott's in there on merit, but to put him left wing, what are you expecting him to do? He's a left-footed player. He put in one good cross, in fairness to him, and it almost reached Gakpo. But
that was a lovely cross, yeah.
Yeah, but what are you expecting? Yeah, what are you expecting him to do? Like, he's on his left foot. He isn't particularly quick. So if he was quick, you think fair enough, because he'll run down the line and he's on his stronger foot. He'll maybe get his head up and try to pick someone out in the box. But he's not quick, so he's not going to do that. And then Elliott's game is so good on the right because he comes inside naturally and he'll have his head up and he'll have a look for a cross or look for a pass. And if he can do like a little 1-2 or something a bit intricate around the 18-yard box, then he'll try and do so. But that position, that area on the pitch doesn't suit him at all. And then you think about the guy that was up front, and that is the area of the pitch that exactly suits him. That's where he plays for PSV. That's where, you know, I like to think, scouted him, seeing it at left wing, getting these goals, getting these assists, being a creator, you know, having a good shot on him. He's a right-footed player, likes to cut in and get that shot away, likes to pick people out with a cross as well. And yet you stick him up front, and you're just like, you just wrote this down wrong on the team sheet. Is this just a silly mistake? But it's baffling. I can't understand the thinking with it. And then the Milner one's funny because a lot of fans ain't gonna like to hear this, but Milner never lets us down. Like, he just doesn't. And like, look, he's not amazing going forward. And I was a little bit frustrated in the first half of yesterday's game because he was kind of getting to the areas high up the pitch and was just sort of putting these hoop crosses into the box, and it kind of killed our attacks a little bit. But defensively, he's absolutely sound, you know, and he's got that now, so, you know, when, or that experience, shall I say, when Modric came on and obviously had that space to sort of drive into, he just took the yellow. And how many times this season have we said, Jesus Christ, just foul the man if you have to? But he actually does it, you know, and he knew the time of the game that he would be coming off soon as well. So yeah. I don't like to see Milner on the team sheet, but every time I do, I'm like, I don't really mind because I know what I'm getting. And usually it's like a 6 or 7 out of 10 performance. Like, it shouldn't be the situation, but it is. And then the centre-backs, I like how he put Khanage back over to the right, to be honest. That's where he plays. That's going to be his position in the future, hopefully when Virgil comes back. I don't understand why we even tried him out on the left. Oh, no, sorry, that was when you played with Matic. So, okay, that does make sense. But Gomez has played left side of centre-back as well, more so in the cup games when he's had to step in with a rotated side. But they're not. Gomez would probably say he'd rather play on the right, but he can do the left. So at least he got that right and switched them back round. And we seemingly, they had quite a good game, I thought, as centre-backs.
Yeah. The game started off, it was one of those 12:30 kickoffs. Ev, you probably woke up at mad hours, 4 a.m. in the morning to watch this. Watch this shit. You probably thought, you kind of knew what you was getting into, but you were still brave and loyal to wake up. Did you have any idea how we're going to, I'm going to say it bluntly, create a chance? Because I think I put it in our group, didn't I? I'm not sure how we're going to score a goal here. I couldn't see with the personnel on the pitch and the formation that was in place with that personnel. I'm going to be honest, guys. Like, tell me I'm going mad, and what do you mean? Like, you can score a goal at any time. And I get that, but I couldn't see, unless it was like a mix-up in the box or a Chelsea error, I couldn't see how we're going to create chances. I don't know if you felt the same. If you did, then back me up. If you did, and if you didn't, tell me, how did you think we were going to score a goal?
I couldn't agree more, Grizz. I mean, if you look at the lineup, you don't even have to, your gut feeling tells you where the chances come from, and the numbers show that as well. I mean, obviously, Mohamed Salah's creative abilities are very understated. He's one of the best creative wingers in Premier League history, if you just look at the numbers. However, that is completely complemented by Trent Alexander-Arnold. When Mohamed Salah's creative numbers, when Trent's on the pitch versus when he's off the pitch, is night and day. So Trent creates space, takes attention away, finds Salah in positions where Salah can be more creative more often. So I didn't see a chance coming from Salah, despite him just being a generally creative player, because he didn't have Trent behind him for a majority of the game. I didn't see where a chance was going to come from the left side, despite all of the creative guile that guys like Elliott and Robertson create, because obviously you guys have spoken about it. You know, it's difficult to play a left-footed player on the left wing when he's not gifted for pace. If you're going to do the old-fashioned winger thing of a left-footed guy on the left wing who's going to get to the byline and cross, he needs a ton of pace, and obviously that's not something that Elliott has. So I didn't think Robertson had a partner in Elliott that was fast enough or direct enough for Robertson to do his signature 1-2, close control combination, direct play. So I didn't see where a chance was coming from either wing. Gakpo obviously being played out of position represented a very isolated figure. He's not the type of forward who makes a ton of runs in behind. He's the type of forward who likes to see the pitch in front of him. He likes to see where the back line is. So we lacked Darwin's directness. Gakpo obviously is a different type of player, so I didn't see where a chance was going to come from there. I guess everything hinged on Thiago just pulling something out of his ass, for lack of a better phrase. He is that type of player. He is inspired and creative and tricky enough to just pull, a Pirlo-esque assist just, from nothing, so lots was hinging on that. But in terms of creating patterns of play that even allow for creativity, I didn't see it, because people, I think, when they talk about creativity, they forget that you have to put your creative players in positions to be creative. And that's why I started off by saying Salah does not create nearly enough as he usually does when he doesn't have Trent behind him, finding him in pockets of space where Mohamed Salah can get his head up and see what his teammates are doing. If Salah's an isolated figure, if he's constantly having to dribble past 2 or 3 defenders before he can even get in a position to find a final ball, then obviously his creativity is going to suffer. Obviously, all of these issues, I think, are exacerbated by injuries. In a perfect world, Harvey Elliott does not play a single minute a season for Liverpool at left wing, except if it's in like a 4th round FA Cup tie against Wrexham.
Because we actually have, let's just work this out numerically. We have Jota who's played out there. We have Diaz who's played out there. We have Nunes who's played out there. We have
now we have Gakpo.
And
Gakpo. So in theory, Grizz,
and
Harvey Elliott's our
and Curtis Jones.
Harvey
Curtis Jones. Go on, stay.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Harvey Elliott. No, this is a great point, because Harvey Elliott at best is our 6th or 7th choice left wing option for Liverpool, and that's being flattering. That's assuming guys like Jones and Ox aren't playing there ahead of him. So I think people needed to curtail their expectations. We should all be disappointed that we had to field a team like that. But I think, like you, Grizz, you take one look at it, and even without getting into all the nerdy numbers and stuff that I like to get into, it's pretty clear that there wasn't any potential for constant creativity.
It kind of segues into a couple of super chats, and Steve, I'm going to come to you, because some people have left comments on the videos and said you guys are not addressing one of the elephants in the room, and that's Mohamed Salah. And I was thinking maybe we haven't touched upon it, and we can touch upon it in the next few minutes.
I'll touch upon it again. I just talked about it for a while.
Yeah,
right. Okay.
Ryan says, Mo, 0 shots on target in the last 3. Love him, but poor. Shane says, I don't feel either way, but the question will start to be asked: if Mo continues this poor form until the end of the season, do we look to move him on and cash in to start the rebuild? Steve, this is going to be at you. So, and What's Good says, do you guys think we're too vertical? I do. I think we depend on random crosses too much at times. We lose the ball at high frequency. Okay, Evan, if you want to come in on this one, and then see, we can touch upon the Mo question.
I'll be super quick about this one. Yes, we are too vertical. That is the correct word. It's really disappointing to see us, work the ball out of defense. 5 to 10 yard intricate passing between the likes of Thiago and Keita or Elliott if he's playing there. Then we get the ball across the halfway line, and it's just boom up to Darwin, boom up to Salah. Like it. We used to work the wide areas so much better, with the understanding that Mane and Robertson had, and the understanding that Robertson was starting to build with Luis Diaz before he went down injured. Again, it's about getting our partnerships back in wide areas. That's really what it's about for Liverpool. Exploiting wide areas is how City have dominated football in this country for a decade plus. Multiple managers had different interpretations of it. But wide partnerships is, I think, why we are suffering so much. When's the last time Andy Robertson had a consistent left wing partner? I mean, it's been quite a long time at this point. I see so many not only square pegs and round holes, but players who have no real understanding of what it's like to work those sort of to work those partnerships and to again, reiterate, put people in positions to be themselves. And another super chat that I saw just a second ago, Mo, 0 shots on target in the last 3. I don't know if that's true or not, but if it is true, I think it reinforces the point I'm trying to make about not being able to get our best players in the positions they need to be in. It's less so much about Mo's individual performances, but more about how systematically, as a whole, we are failing to put him inside and around the 18-yard box as often as we should.
And as a result, Steve, his numbers go down, his effectiveness goes down, and then it coincides with the team's sort of misfortunes, and then obviously there starts building up a agenda or topic, I guess, not an agenda, but a narrative, which suggests, what do we do with Mohamed Salah? And I think we did touch upon it, actually. Fair play to us. We did touch upon it. I think it was last week where we said, or was it the week before, where we said, is it time for him to evolve into our main man through the middle? Have you had any thoughts on that? Or is it a matter of just, as hard as it is, let's just wait for our attackers to come back? And as Evan says, not depend on square holes and round pegs, and it will fall into place. Are you of that opinion, or which opinion do you have?
I'm a massive advocate of what Evans just said in terms of giving the ball to players in the right areas so they can hurt people. And without Trent on the pitch, we don't give Salah the ball unless he stood on the touchline with left-sided centre midfielder, possible centre-back and a full-back, saying to him, there you go, where are you going to go? And the answer is nowhere. The problem with Liverpool is that we bounce around our team, singling out players for criticism week in, week out, because things aren't going well. We kind of look for people. And at the moment, people are looking at Salah. The big problem for Liverpool is the front 6, so the 3 and the 3, hasn't performed at all this season in its entirety. So unless your front 3 press properly, your midfield's got no chance. Unless your midfield do their job properly, your front 3 have got no chance. So I don't think we should be sitting here saying, oh, let's try and sell Salah to the highest bidder and rebuild. This is a 5.5-year goal machine that sits within our football club that we should be doing everything we possibly can to get the best out of this guy. He is proven. His numbers, you can't argue with his numbers. He's put up numbers that when he retires, people like us sit down and talk about who are the best forwards the Premier League's ever seen. He's in the conversation, and we shouldn't forget that. So we should make a system that allows him to play rather than trying to give him the ball in the wrong areas where he can't hurt people. Do we play him through the centre? I'm not convinced. Don't think he's got the full sort of 360 awareness of what's going on around him to do that. He will play off the shoulder of somebody, and he will think about Mo Salah. The fact that he thinks about Mo Salah and he's as effective as he is, we've bore the fruit of that over the last 5 years. No, we shouldn't be singling him out. No, we shouldn't be selling him. We have a defensive line and a goalkeeper, and then the 6 in front of that is pivotal to it working, the whole system working, and they have to work together in unison. And it's as disjointed as it's ever been in the time that Klopp's been at the football club, because the current tactics and the current system, you can't do it with the players we're asking to do it. It just doesn't work. We don't have Ronaldo, Henderson and Fabinho in all their glory sitting in front of the back 4 saying to the front 3, go and do your thing, we've got this. There's players running off us all over the shop. So it's a bigger problem, but it is not helping Mo Salah in terms of his performance. I'm not an advocate of selling him. I don't think he should be singled out for criticism. I saw a slide less than 2 weeks ago. His GA is amongst the best in Europe for his position, even with the form we're in. So there's a bigger problem to deal with, and when that bigger problem is fixed and resolved, and whether that means we wait till next year with some recruitment to do it, then we'll start to see the Mo Salah that we love. I'm certainly not going to join the Boo Boys or join an agenda to say we need to have a conversation about Mo Salah. We need to give Mo Salah the ball where he can do what Mo Salah does.
Keith, KD sends in a super chat, says played 20 plus games more than anyone, played 20 more games than anyone else last season. Wow. That's a lot, guys. Anyway, he rarely gets rested. Emotional toll, getting so close to squad, plus AFCON, plus World Cup, burnt out. sometimes it can be as simple as that, Keith. Are you listening to Evan and Steve about it? Have you got your theory, your opinion on the situation? I've asked the question. And sorry, guys, I still haven't worked out how to do a poll. I'm waiting on someone. I'm waiting on. Usually, it's Evan who's going to teach me how to do a poll in the chat. So after the show, he's going to teach me. We're going to need to learn how to do a poll. So that's normal. But do you think there should be a positional change as he gets older or mature? I don't know whichever you want to look at it. And is it sometimes as simple as this? Just give the guy a break.
Yeah, well, if we look back at the season, like game by game, and we really like analyze, obviously there is, theories and feelings when you go into a bad run of form, and Liverpool have been in a bad run of form, right? But if we look at the season as a whole, his numbers are up there with Messi and Mbappe in the Champions League, right? He's had a great Champions League campaign. We had other than the battering by Napoli, a pretty decent Champions League campaign so far. He's contributed to that. I would also argue that there has been, when the team has, to Evan and Steve's point, when the team has been functioning and parts of the pieces have been there, I felt that he's starting to get an understanding between him and Nunes. I actually thought their performance against Tottenham Hotspurs was brilliant, right? They were starting to kind of get it. And then obviously the World Cup comes and it rips away all momentum on what we were trying to achieve. Nunes goes to the World Cup, etc. And then he gets injured and then he's not available. So
good point. That was our best. That was the best combination and understanding we've had all season. You're right. All
season, and they almost flirted with it against Fulham, and it's been going on, bubbling up in the background. So rather than like thinking about the Salah's exodus, I think I'll be more intrigued to see in the coming weeks how this arguably the new front three does click into gear, because it will be Gakpo, Nunes, Salah. That will be the front three that Klopp will probably go with. Necessity out of anything, because there's no left forwards available, but ultimately that is going to be a front three that
until Jota and Diaz come back. Until Jota
and Diaz comes back, right? So what does that look like for Mo Salah? I think one of the things I will always give him mad respect for is Mo Salah has always been in front of the camera, in front of the microphone. He's always spoken, and given his, support and almost like, I feel like he wants to be a leader in so far as he takes a lot of pride in being a Liverpool player. And when you think about the players that have come to Liverpool over the years that have been great players, superstars, and left or etc., he's been the one guy that actually I felt that he genuinely is proud and loves playing for Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? Like he genuinely wants to be here. So he's given us so many great moments. I think it's time for us to be a bit patient with him as he figures out what Liverpool, well, you would argue it's 2.0, 3.0 with the attack. He's probably on 7.0 already this season with the amount of changes we've had. But let's see what comes of it, because there's been glimpses to suggest that if it works out correct, Nunes and Salah could have a quite an interesting partnership going into next season.
I'm excited about the link up. Don't know about anyone else. Danny sends in a super chat, says likes the way Evan sees the game and the way he talks about our struggling at FC. Off topic, Evan, since what year was you a Red? How long you been supporting the Reds for?
It wasn't a choice for me. It was a from birth thing. Like my dad's a Liverpool fan, so just like anybody else. I'm 26 for context, so 1996.
Amazing. Do the maths, people. Born a Red. Amazing. And shout out Mr. Soccer, senior soccer guard as well, because he helped us out in a draft, which, by the way, people are asking for. So can you sort that out very soon as well? So shout out Mr. Soccer guard, the senior. Smash the like button, people. Subscribe if you haven't. Over 600 of you in here. We're going to get into the game, Conroy, and I want to ask you, the game progresses. They actually have a goal disallowed, rightly so. I sense everything that we were worried about didn't happen. Like you've been very adamant about how easy it is to run through us. Second man runs, you and Stay actually. And we all have. But you've been very vocal about how easy it is to run through us and play basic football to beat us. At least we didn't have that to worry about. I thought we handled that well. Did you notice, or did you think like I thought, that we played slightly deeper, or was it that we had more energy and legs with Bejitic and Naby in midfield, and even from Elliot's work rate from the right that stopped and our pressing was better? Would you think it was a combination of it? Because I don't know if you guys disagree. I did generally think they didn't slice us open as other teams were doing. It was more. We couldn't create much, but defensively, we didn't look that shaky to me.
I thought we looked more compact, definitely,
Okay,
to a certain extent. Now, I've been trying to work out. I spoke to Cav before, because sometimes when you listen to the commentary, it can confuse when you're watching the game, because they were talking about how our press were letting Chelsea progress a little bit and then pressing. But I actually don't know if that was just a few instances where we weren't quite on it. But I did feel that we could probably be more compact and play more on the counter, but I still felt that it definitely did look slightly deeper and more compact to me. However, I wouldn't say it was, when we've discussed it, like myself and Cav and Evan previously, I feel like for what I think going forward to be successful, it would have to be slightly deeper than that. But we definitely, of all the things we'll talk about today, I thought the defence and open play actually done reasonably decent at times. Like some of the blocks they made, especially second half when Mudryk came on, I felt like we'd done quite well in that. But now what's happened is we weren't getting cut open anymore, but we're just susceptible at set pieces. So one door closes, another door opens. But from that point of view, I actually felt we did look slightly more compact and better defensively. I actually thought, even though he has his moments, I thought Gomez and Khanage and the whole back four actually done reasonably okay defensively.
Cav, would you agree? And if so, what was the reason for it then? What do you think enabled us to be more compact, less easy to play against? Was it a case of like what we've been talking about in weeks gone by, like be more pragmatic, be more compact, don't be so gung ho? Then does it warrant us complaining about our creativity? Like, did we edge towards? Was it by plan? And what I'm suggesting to you, was it by plan that we need to be more defensive and more hard to beat?
I got the impression that it was. I felt like we did drop back slightly, and I don't feel like we was pressing their centre backs and the goalkeeper quite as much as we've seen in the past. I mean, one thing by changing the personnel that we managed to cut out that's really been affecting us is we didn't have Henderson bombing on beyond all the forwards trying to press the goalkeeper and leaving space in behind him. Thiago didn't, Thiago can be guilty of it at times. And as much as I admire it, if it's bypassed, it's a problem. He wasn't doing it. But I think that partly comes down to the fact that he kind of likes who he's playing with in the midfield. And so he's quite happy to wait for the ball to come to him. And then he knows he's got a bit of link up with the guys around him. Not too sure. Might have just been one of them games. But in the first half, especially, someone who was doing it was Robertson. And I'm not sure if this was by design from Chelsea, but Robertson was trying to press Chelsea, whoever was in possession of the ball with Chelsea. And quite often you've seen the ball just being flicked in behind him. And there was a bit of space in behind him. And Ziyech was kind of dropping deep on the right-hand side and picking the ball up. And he just was looking to just put it in the space. And Havertz was kind of moving across the line, floating into that area. I think there was one chance actually where instead of actually putting the ball into that channel, he actually played it through to Havertz, and he sort of got in behind Gomez and just didn't manage to sort of make the right decision to get his shot away. There was a few occasions where Chelsea got into good areas. I wouldn't say they carved us open, and it didn't seem like we were getting carved open quite like we had done before in previous games, but they were still managing to get in areas where if they'd have just took a shot or just made got a touch right, or maybe not made an extra pass, they could have really threatened Alisson in goal. So it wasn't perfect, but it was an improved display in terms of how compact we were and how much tight knit we were. I felt like we could have kept the ball better. I think in the Wolves game, we managed to create a little bit, like a few triangles between Keita and Betetic and Thiago. And it was really nice to see us like keep the ball and be calm and try and progressively build up the pitch. We weren't quite as good in the Chelsea game, but it was better than what we've been seeing all this season. So I think there was an approach by Klopp in this game to be a bit more compact, maybe not press quite so gung-ho and as individuals like we used to. And I think we look better for it, to be honest. And then second half starts without jumping too far ahead, and we actually did start to press because we built a bit of momentum and we come out of the blocks flying. And I'm fine with that. Do it in moments. Do it in, when the whole team's feeling good and it's happening for you. Fine. Do a big press. Go as a team. You're feeling good. Momentum's behind you. Crowd's on side. Cool. But when it goes against you, then retract a little bit and just be sensible in the game. And I felt like we did that a bit better.
Yeah, I agree. Evan, I don't know if you... Yeah, go on. You're gone.
Just add one thing to Cal's point. I feel like I meant to say earlier that the point, as we say, first half, like the lack of creativity. The thing is, though, myself, we've had how many past 4 weeks, probably past 2 months. We always say it's so reliant on our play, and the lack of our patterns of play is amplified when Trent's not on the park. Because literally at times it does feel that if you look, even the way they tried to employ Milner is the highest up, and that would usually be Trent. And I think these are really good examples of you can have your main playmaker, your main guy, be the main creator, that's fine. But to have such a drop-off when he's not there, to not even, as Evan said earlier and Cal's mentioned in the past, the lack of patterns of play. I just wanted to add, guys, to get everyone's thoughts on that. Again, that's still quite surprising when I see that, to be honest. The lack of that always surprises me, and I think especially that game because Trent was nowhere near the park, and even when he came on for he didn't come on that game, did he? I can't remember. He didn't come in this game. I'm getting mixed up, but it's like when he does again, it's like we're so reliant on him, and that's fine if that's your main goal. That's fine as your main plan. I get that, but again, I think it's another example of the lack of other ideas for creativity, and I don't think that's good enough. I've got to be honest. Like back to what you do in the training field, and I'm not seeing anything from a creativity point of view. Even what Steve said earlier and Evan about giving it to Salah on the edge of the box, but that's still relying on someone to do an individual thing, like a moment to find a pass, find a cross. It's not a team build-up that's cutting open a team. And again, I still think there's issues there. So I just wanted to add that. Sorry, Grizz.
No, that's cool. I don't know if Evan or Steve wants to come in on that. I just very quickly say my thing. I think I agree with you, but I think we're not, because we've been so used to the patterns of play, and I think we've been used to the patterns of play because we've been used to the same players. So obviously we've had the same triangles in different areas of the pitch, whether it's fullback to winger, three in midfield, even the centre backs and Bobby Firmino. So we know the patterns of play, and they know the patterns of play like the back of their hands. And obviously the last 18 months, we've seen a slight change, not only in personnel, but style and the style of the personnel as well, in terms of the attributes of the personnel as well. How many times have we discussed our eights are different now? Our wingers are different now. Now our forwards different now as well. So I think patterns of play, for me personally, I think we're going to have to be patient with. I don't know what you guys think. Until we get everyone back and on the training pitch, we're going to have to be patient, I think.
So patterns of play, work on, first of all, not giving the ball away, which is a major problem for us right now. So the best illustration of patterns of play failing at the weekend would be, we played, as we've discussed, Harvey Elliott on the left side. He played as an inverted left-sided player. Every time he came inside, Cody Gakpo had done what he normally does, which is drift away from the centre and go towards the left. So all he had was a square ball to another centre midfielder, and by the time that pass is made, they'd squeeze the space in front of it, so there was nothing on. So I kind of picked up from the comments that we think we pressed better at the weekend. I don't think we did. I don't think we pressed at all. We allowed ourselves to win the ball back deeper by dropping off a little bit rather than pressing. So for me, the patterns of play thing will only work when we have 3 or 4, 5 or 6 games where we have the same bodies in the same positions. So not only are we playing different players every week, we decided to play Harvey Elliott in a position he's not played in at all for us all season this week. We decided to bring James Milner in at right back to play as an orthodox right back, because ahead of the game, we might have thought that the new guy that Chelsea had signed was going to play from the off. So we wanted an orthodox right back, someone that wasn't doing overlaps, someone that wasn't being inverted. It was somebody that gave us a little bit of defensive stability. We went with the midfield from the Wolves game because we've been crying out for meritocracy. We've been crying out for the players that put the effort in to get a game. And we did that. And there's fans out there that are not happy that we did that. So you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, really, aren't you, in that regard? But until we start playing the same people in the same positions week in, week out, stop giving the ball away. Someone said recently, and it might have been someone here, that when you watch a replay of something that Liverpool had done or something that the opponent had done, when you go back to live play from the replay, we've already given the ball away. So, and in their building, and it's because there's no, we're not relaxed, and that's the last thing you say to your players before they go out on the pitch. Relax. You're not relaxed. You're tight. We're full of pressure. We're playing with massive tension on us at the moment because we're in 9th place. Guys are forcing everything. They're tight when they take the ball in. Thiago's passing is someone who's trying to force things rather than being relaxed.
I noticed that this weekend especially. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So he's giving the ball back to the point, giving the ball to players who don't want it when he's giving it to them. And when you're not playing very well, players don't want the ball anyway. And that we're seeing a little bit of that. So to put this right, in summary again, 6 or 7 games, same players, same positions, some patterns of players, stop giving the bloody ball away, and we've got a chance.
That kind of segues before I get to Evan. Just 1 second, Con, sorry, because it's related to this. Not something. No, it's cool. That's exactly what the super chat says. Yo, what's good? I wish I could tell you Liverpool every week, my friend. You know how we do. Not something I continuously want to see, but I like how comfortable the midfielders were under pressure and can actually do a half turn. I feel Fab and especially Hendo don't cope under pressure. Sorry, Conrad, because I was going to speak about the young man in midfield, Becitic and Naby, but go on. Sorry, what were you going to say?
Yeah, no, I was just to say, I don't think it's a new thing though, Steve. This is not just like after the last couple of games. It's probably been like this for like the last couple of months as well. And the thing is, it's like the patterns of play, though, seem to be give it to Trent, look for a long pass, or get Trent to find a cross, find a runner. Like that seems to be the patterns of play. We talk about players near time. I get that, but that Brighton team that smashed us 3-0, I don't think Evan Ferguson's maybe played, 4 games for Brighton? So it's like this thing about having players to play for a long time to progress the ideas of a coach. I don't think that should take that long. And I'm not just talking about, obviously I was quite happy with it yesterday being solid in that, but this is a bigger issue. I think this happens quite a lot. And the reliance on Trent, or as I say, a Darwin Núñez run, that's not a pattern to play. It's a long pass. Okay, it might fall into that, but it's not 1-2s, triangles. It's not stuff that you can see the team's been working on every day. And I think this has been an issue for a while. And I feel like you can watch other teams and they look like you see what their ideas are. You see a new player comes to the team, you see what they're trying to do. I just don't think you see that with us. Fair enough, I get the points, but I still think this has been happening for a longer time than the last, just after the World Cup. That's my opinion anyway.
The guy at Brighton that you say, Ferguson, has played 6 games, I think it is. He's a focal point, orthodox number 9. So in terms of his role, it is pretty straightforward. You can.
He's an example of the Matoma.
Yeah, I know. I'm not pulling what you said apart. It's just easy to play as a 9 than it is to play as an 8, for instance. In a system like Liverpool's, it's a lot more difficult. And
we change the system if it's not working, Steve.
Say again?
Change the system if it's not working. Then do you know what I mean?
Mate, talks the wrong guy. I absolutely think we need to change the system, but I'm not responsible for that, am I? That's 2 stubborn men at the Axel who think that we can get by doing 4-3-3 with the personnel we've got. I totally agree with you. I wasn't digging you out or anything. I just the point I'm trying to make is we're in danger of becoming not a long ball team, a quick transition team by hitting the longer balls. So it's not lump it forward to Dominic Calvert-Lewin, everybody get round him and see what you can get. There's a purpose to the longer balls we're playing. That's becoming our sort of what we do. That's how we're playing at the moment, because we want Núñez to isolate defenders one-on-one because we know he'll beat them. So we're looking for long balls in the channels and down the side of him for him to get onto things. That goal he scored off that Bobby Clark pass in the friendly during the World Cup was a brilliant goal, but it also gave Liverpool a prelude to how we can use Darwin Núñez in terms of playing channel balls down the side of defenders. And we're becoming slightly over-reliant on that. And if we're going to do that, if we're going to play counter-attacking football, which, by the way, I think we probably should, given the personnel in midfield right now, we need to drop the back 4 off another 10 yards, take a traditional stance 5 yards outside your box, and work opportunities to play direct transitional balls. as opposed to trying to do it with a high back line. I wasn't digging you out 1 second, mate.
No. I know you want to. You know, I just wanted to highlight. I think I didn't say it well enough that I feel like this has been a progressive, and I know the chat sometimes say I talk about this all the time, but it's just like if you watch other teams, like you see what they're working on out with, let's say, the game-changing players. Like the other 9 players in that team aren't just there to give the ball to those players. They're actually meant to do something, you know, to work on that. And I just feel like, especially when you watch other teams wing play, like Arsenal's a bad example because they've been working that for a long time. I'm talking about teams who maybe not, you know, lower down, feel like they're working on stuff as a unified front with the team, and I just don't get that impression.
I see what you mean, and I get the frustration, Colin, but I think it goes back to what I think I was saying, and I'm not saying what I was saying is right, but it's very difficult to do it when you've got 5, 6 core players, senior players, especially in and around the attack, that are missing, Con. You can't work on something with players, of not even, I'd say, the same ability levels, and also they're just not available. So until we get that, I don't think that's the angle or the criticism should be levied at right now. That's just my opinion. People are suggesting that Cav's watching Love Island. I guarantee you I'm going to ask him the hard questions. So if he is, he better be ready because he's going to get the hard questions.
Look, can I just wade in on this point slightly?
Go on.
It's not
quickly though,
lad.
You've got so many points.
Not patterns of play as such, but game plan to target opposition's weaknesses we never see. So I look at that Chelsea's team and I think, how could we have got at them? Badiashile, I'm sure he's a very good centre-back, but that is his debut for Chelsea. Could we not have overloaded that side of the pitch to try and, you know, unnerve him slightly? You know, Hall is a young man in the Chelsea team. He's done well since he's come in, but should we pack the midfield and try to get around him and kick him early just to make him off his game? We see it so often because we're often the favourites. Teams come to us and go, I tell you what, I know Trent's bombing, I will exploit that. I know, you know, and they always look for our weaknesses and they tailor their game to exploit our weaknesses. And we're at a point now where all our strengths are gone, but we need to actually start recognizing we can't just turn up. We need to just start, be compact and start picking out areas and players in oppositions to try and target. And we don't see that.
Good point. John, I haven't missed your super chat. It's just, I'm going to segue into that in a few minutes. But without changing the tactics, without changing the personnel, we did start putting pressure in that second half. Guys, if you've noticed, people in the chat and obviously panel, we haven't discussed much about the game because still nothing's happened in the game to discuss. The show would have been 10 minutes if we discussed what happened in the game. But there is something to discuss in that first 15, 20 minutes. And Ev, with your tactical head on, what was it that inspired us? Was it a Klopp blast? Must have been. Because same shape, unless I'm mistaken, guys, let me know. Same personnel, yet for 15, 20 minutes, it looked like we had penned them in and they literally couldn't get out. A, what do you think it was? And B, why couldn't we sustain it?
I'll answer the second question first. It's not sustainable due to lack of certain key personnel. I think as a manager and as Klopp, you know, a strong personality, you know, a guy who can get, you know, through his own sheer charisma, he can get his tactical point across very quickly, very effectively. It can be sort of like a shot up the ass. Like it can be something that can be, you know, used for 10 to 15 minutes, but I think long-term meaning 45 minutes, I don't think it's sustainable due to square pegs and round holes. And so we come full circle back to what we've spent, I think, most of the hour and 10 minutes talking about, how Liverpool tactically are suffering because due to the wrong type of personnel playing in the wrong positions due to a combination of injuries and negligence in the transfer market. So it used to be the standard, though, sort of the siege we would put teams under. And we've seen it less and less this season, mainly due to, you know, a lack of ball retention, which I thought was a great point, you know, our own verticality or our own haste to be vertical. It's also what I've noticed is I think it's gone from, you know, inferior team comes to Anfield or, you know, they're just playing us. It used to be they'll camp in front of their box and it used to be penetrate us. You know, we're going to park the bus, see if you can create chances. And most of the time, eventually we would get a few and we'd score. Nowadays, the inferior team plays against Liverpool, and they've realized that if they can reduce the game to a battle of midfield duels where they go toe to toe with us midfield and overwhelm us physically, they have a good chance of not only getting a point but getting 2 more. So I think that's why we've struggled to pen teams in, like you saw us pin Chelsea in for those 10 and 15 minutes. It's mainly our dysfunction and our injuries and our lack of key personnel, but it's also teams changing how they've played against us. Teams have been reactive to our own deficiencies. We perhaps don't give teams enough, credit, for how shit Liverpool have been largely this season. The teams that have come to Anfield and taken points, and the teams who have taken points from us on the road, they have reacted spectacularly well to our own deficiencies. You really have to give, Brentford credit for the way they've played against us well, and they've done it 2 years on the bounce, as well. So why is the siege not sustainable, Grizz? Basically what we've been saying this entire time. How do we make it sustainable? Well, unfortunately, and this is not what anybody wants to hear, and I feel disgusted saying it, you kind of just have to twiddle your thumbs and wait for people to come back. Because when you're trying to get out of a hole that we're currently in, Klopp has to strike this near impossible balance of working back towards what we used to be good at, the basics, getting back to a recognizable Liverpool. And he also, going against that, he has to make sort of on-the-fly decisions of how do I, just get quality players on the pitch. So he has to make these tough decisions of, who has to play out of position today. Because for the last few months, there's been at least 2 or 3 of those decisions to make on a weekly basis. So how do you work back towards what Liverpool are good at, given our personnel, while at the same time compensating for the lack of key personnel? And obviously, Klopp bears all the responsibility, but in these moments where we have so many key personnel out, I think it's a near impossible task. So it becomes really difficult, because do you play? How do you win more consistently? Do you play Salah centrally, or is the wisdom to play your best player in his best position? Because we could talk all day about how we don't like to see Gakpo central or Elliott on the left wing, but if we put Gakpo on the left wing, Elliott on the right wing, and Salah central, and we still didn't win, I guarantee you everybody would be saying, why aren't we playing our best player in his best position? And Gakpo, for what it's worth, has played 30 more games than Salah centrally in the last 12 months. So there you go.
Gakpo was going to be my next segment after the next actual segment, so I'm still going to hold my order, even though you nearly tempted me to go into your order. Gandahar says, I feel when Bobby comes back, everything will tick. And Danny replies to you, I've been a Red since I saw a Paisley documentary on French TV. Wow. Summer 2000. I dream of Liverpool dominating home and abroad like that. A pure winning machine. Don't we all, my friend? Don't we all? Because I wanted to talk about Naby Keita. We haven't touched upon Naby Keita. We've spoken about Stefan Bejic, and Keith, I'm going to come to you. We have that period of domination. We don't get the breakthrough. I don't recall any clear-cut chances, guys. I see a lot of good play. Tell me if I'm wrong. I don't remember many saves that the keepers had to make. And then it's time to make some substitutions to impact the game. I'm afraid I don't think Jurgen Klopp made many good substitutions in that period, around that time. And I think one of them was the removal of Naby Keita. The introduction of, who was Naby Keita's introduction, guys?
Nunes.
So that makes sense, because we want Nunes on the pitch, even if he's got 30, 40 minutes in him, right? But what happens is he brings Elliott into midfield to replace Naby Keita. I don't know about you, Keith. I thought that totally nullified. I thought it balanced out, sort of bringing on Nunes, but you're taking away probably one of our better players, Naby Keita. Or did you think Naby Keita wasn't that effective either?
Well, probably one of our biggest unfortunate sick notes, you know, the Darren Anderton of Liverpool Football Club. This guy was probably taken off because the medics told Klopp to take him off on X amount of minutes. Because I can't believe it can be anything other than that. Because I think Naby Keita over the past few games has given us something that...
What's he shown you?
So... First of all, I think he's really, really good at closing space down when the oppositions have the ball, like choosing when he is going to like narrow that press, if you will. I think he's excellent at that. I think he's brilliant.
I think he's the smartest presser on the team, Keith. I don't know if you agree. Right? I think he's Liverpool's most intelligent presser of the ball. Yeah.
I feel like when he's on the pitch, you know, it feels like the midfield has a slight bit of continuity off the ball. And on the ball, I think he's still very, very good football player, right? He's very good in terms of interchanging with the wide players. He's very good with the ball. I think he has still suffered, like everyone's alluded to, you know, this idea that sometimes he'll just play such a soft pass and he'll let it go, right? Thiago did the same thing in the game. It was very much like win the ball, yes, won the ball, play it, and then lose the ball again. So he's also suffering a little bit from that. He can't have all the praise, but he's just been a nice bit of a fresh air, if you will. It's a good thing we got to rely on him to come back and not like someone like Artemelo, for example, right? So, you know, he's seasoned in our team. He knows the team. He knows the system. So that's the only reason why Grizz, I think he took him off at that time. I think it must have been purely medical. And yeah, but the thing with moving Harvey Elliott to the midfield comes, I think, to what Conroy was saying, right? It's kind of like, right, cool, like what is our new patterns of play, particularly with the players that we've got, right? Because what we were, or what Liverpool tried to go back to, for I don't think can be achieved with the players, the squad of players, whether people come back from injury or not. That new Liverpool team, whether it's the front forward, whether it's the midfield, that's good. Like it can't be 4-3-3 in that traditional sense anymore, unless you're requiring players that you've purchased to play out of position or in positions they don't like to play, i.e. Harvey Elliott and Carvalho. So like Klopp moving Harvey Elliott into that midfield doesn't fit he's still trying to do what he used to do with the midfielders, but playing them in positions that they shouldn't be playing in. So I think by him doing that, it further poses the question, if you will, like what is the future succession with these players that you've got available? Because it, like Liverpool with Mane, Firmino, Salah, Wijnaldum, Henderson, Fabinho, that's gone. Like, what is the next stage? Because those players are not the players that are going to bring that level. It doesn't matter how many midfielders you sign; they're also going to be different in terms of what that is going to bring. So it's like when the players do come back, it'll be interesting to see for sure. Like, what is the next patterns of play?
This is why you guys are an elite panel. I'm serious. I'm not blowing up smoke up your asses for no reason. This is why you guys are the elite panel of the Big Six. Big Six? The main six. Liverpool-wise. I'm not talking about Big Six, the bunch of wankers over there. I'm talking about the Liverpool Six. RedFellas. Because this is the question that's everybody on everyone's lips. What's next for Liverpool? You mentioned the players, Keith, and I agree with you. That era, we all agree now, I think, otherwise speak up now. That era of those players has gone, has fallen off. We are now in the era of probably, don't shoot me down, probably 3 or 4 remainers in terms of Virgil, Salah, Alisson, Trent, Robbo. That's who I'm building my next team around, right? And then we're going to have the newcomers of Nunes, Jota, Diaz. And we'll start off with a certain Gakpo. People, there's a super chat. And John, this is why I was waiting. Grizz, I don't see the Gakpo and Rashford comparisons. Who the fuck made that, John? Let me know, because that is a wild comparison, whoever made that. anymore, especially with the pace and directness Rashford takes on his fullback. What's his position? This is directed at all of you guys. Let's go with the Gakpo first. Gakpo's come in. Two hands straight away. I know. This is hot topic. Go on, Steve. Gakpo we've bought. Now, I've been very open, critical, and doubting if Gakpo is a Jurgen Klopp type forward based on the types of forward we've had for the last 5-6 years. I don't think he's half as intelligent as a Bobby Firmino to play that role. I don't think he's dynamic and direct enough to play on the flanks. So what is the thinking behind the Gakpo signing, and what's the plan around him, do you think, in your opinion?
There isn't a comparison with Rashford because there's a different type of player. Rashford's really dynamic and Gakpo isn't as dynamic. Don't get me wrong, the guy's not slow. I don't know if anyone in this room here has seen him stretch his legs yet, because I haven't. So I don't really know.
Yeah. He's such
Premier League defenders, how quick he is. It's an interesting one for me because the future of our front line for me looks like Diaz, Nunez, and Salah, or Gakpo, Nunez, and Diaz, depending on how far you look into the future. He's a left-sided player. That's what he is. He can play in a 10 because he's done that before, but he's certainly not a 9. I agree with you saying that before, Grizz. He's not an orthodox number 9. At this moment in time, if everybody was fit, he wouldn't be in the starting 11, and that's my concern because he's not going to usurp Diaz, because Diaz gives you everything that. Was there a player in Europe better suited to Liverpool before we signed him than Luis Diaz? I think everybody to a man would say no. He showed every single attribute of a Jurgen Klopp player for the system and the way that we play. He is your nailed on left winger. Then you've got Nunez, then you've got Jota, then you've got Firmino, then you've got Bobby, and then you've got Gakpo. That's how I see it. I don't see him as a guaranteed starter unless you do a 4-2-3-1 and you can find a place for him in a sort of a floating role, which he looks after the ball really well, to be fair. When the ball's played into his feet, he very rarely gives it away. I think he can play as a second striker, but I'm looking at it thinking, if everybody's fit, he's not starting.
Soccer God, we need some of your insight and opinion on what's the plan for Gakpo, because there is a topical question, because he is the signing that we went to and turned to in January, when many, including some of us on here, said we need a midfielder. We need a midfielder. I understood why we went for a forward, but I didn't understand why we went for this particular forward. So, your opinion, sir?
I agree with Steve in the sense that on ability alone, like let's assume Liverpool are a functional team and everything's ticking and most people are fit. Yeah, he's probably not a starter at this point. He could play long term. I think there could be something there to lead the line through the middle. It's possible, but we obviously have other people who do that, who can bring other things to the table. To the people turning on him in the space of 2 weeks, and this is what I tweeted this morning when I woke up and I saw a lot of what I would call lazy punditry about Cody Gakpo. You expected an instant jaw-dropping impact from Gakpo when he's arrived mid-season and been dropped mostly out of position into our most dysfunctional team of the last 7 years, and that is 100% your own fault. Do better. Like, who our best player of our generation, our best offensive player of our generation, Mohamed Salah, looks bad because we are bad. It's a very simple correlation to draw. You don't have to put on your big smart man stat helmet to come to this conclusion. Everyone, because we are so dysfunctional at our core tactically, everyone has regressed to the new average, which is a really low level for Liverpool, an unacceptable level. And I think we would all agree with that. Unfortunately, this might rub people the wrong way, but you might have to wait. Unfortunately, everyone hates to wait in this social media culture of instant gratification. You might have to wait to find out how good Cody Gakpo is or what his best position is in a Liverpool front line of 3 players. you might have to wait. And I know that sucks. And I know you want him to be the savior of the season. But until Liverpool become very good, Cody Gakpo probably won't become very good, because we have some absolutely, to use a strong word, generational players in our team right now who look like shadows of their former selves. I mean, the amount of people who are calling for Mohamed Salah to be sold at the chat just reinforces what I'm talking about. That is how bad we are. That is how much everybody's level, no matter who they are, no matter who their reputation is, has regressed to this level. So if you expected Cody Gakpo to come in and slot in seamlessly mid-season, it's a huge jump from the Eredivisie to the Premier League. Everybody knows that. If you expected him to slot in seamlessly and score 5 goals in his first 5 games, I don't know what to tell you. Pick a different sport. It really aggravates me. It really aggravates me. And here's the thing. If, let's assume hypothetically we're a functional team again, we're operating at an acceptable level, we have an acceptable amount of points at this point in the season. If Cody Gakpo was looking like a square peg in a round hole in a functional Liverpool team, I absolutely would hear these conversations. I absolutely. And I would say, maybe there is something to that, and it's a good analogy for this is why it was very fair to say that Takumi Minamino, probably not a Liverpool player, because we bought him at the peak of our powers. He got to play for Liverpool at the peak of our powers and the peak of his powers as a 25, 26-year-old, and he wasn't very effective, largely, in a Klopp 4-3-3. That's when that conversation becomes valid. But if Liverpool as a whole are just kind of shit, everybody, it's like an anchor. You know what I mean? It's like a weight. It's like swimming with a backpack of 45-pound weights. Everyone is going to sink to a general level. This is just how it works. And I urge everybody to have patience with some guy who is being asked to perform a monstrous task at this point in his young career.
Kall, exactly. I echo those sentiments. I hate, I guess everyone hates the show, or, these days on social media, everyone hates to agree with everything. People like arguments. People like rows. It's the in thing. It gets views and it gets hits and thing. But
shouting sells.
Shouting sells. Yeah, shouting sells. But we disagree on loads of stuff on this. We have. That's why I've got 6 of you. Usually a lot of varying and differing opinions. But I get that, and I agree with him. But I also want Gakpo to show me something. Gakpo has to show much more, in my opinion. Overall, I agree with Evan, but I don't see the attributes. I want to see the attributes. For example, and I'm not comparing directly with Mudryk, but it's something to work with because that's the game we saw. I saw Mudryk come on for 20 minutes and I saw blistering pace. Gakpo hasn't got blistering pace. I saw quick feet with Mudryk. I don't see quick feet with Gakpo. I've said it before. I like Gakpo. I think he's going to score a couple of bangers. If we see a highlights reel of him eventually after about 12 months, we're going to say, yo, this guy was special. But he gives me a lot of... I compared him to Ryan Babel, where Ryan Babel used to have moments and the odd technical brilliance, and we'd think, what a player. But he just didn't do enough. Of course, I agree. There has to be a bedding in period and let everyone function and let everyone settle in before we judge him. And I'm not judging him on Liverpool. I'm judging him from what I've seen from PSV and Ajax. I want to make that clear. I'm not judging him on Liverpool's 2 games. I'm judging him from PSV and Ajax. But going forward, is there a slight worry for you that we're not profiling players like we used to? So Núñez was something completely different. Gakpo something completely different. We're using the midfielders in a completely different way. In terms of Elliott, in terms of Curtis Jones, who came in and played that role again. Do you see a plan going forward? So next season or the remainder of this season, do you see what the plan is of the coaches and the coach? Or do you think they may have to reassess and revert back to type or buy players that will play that exact system and then cancel this one, like stop this one ain't working?
Yeah,
I know, a bit of a hard question, I know, but
no,
I
I think
I'm going to ask
firstly,
Cav the hard question because he's been watching Love Island in the background. I know he has.
no, that's fine. Firstly, with the Gakpo, I absolutely agree with Evan. Like, you have to be a bit patient. I think what goes against Gakpo is the last 5 signings we've had, like probably high profile, have done really well in literally the first game. But realistically, football doesn't always work like that, and they've not came into a team who's on the floor right now like we are. Like Mane, Diaz when he came in, Salah. I think there's another one in there as well. Obviously had quite effective debuts and hit the ground running. I think like a comparison I'll use and I'll answer the next question is it's not the same type of player at all. But I remember when Peter Crouch signed for Liverpool and it was like 15 games till he scored a goal and it was like he missed a penalty. I think Bolo Zenden scored the rebound. Everything he was doing just wasn't working. Now I'm not saying he's there yet, but when I look at him like the Chelsea game, one of Gakpo's biggest attributes is long range shooting. Not always scoring, but he usually he can get it on target from there. He had 2 efforts against Chelsea. And it didn't hit him with any conviction. Looked like a player who hasn't got the confidence. Hopefully, I think it may be just the case when he does maybe just get a goal or involved in something, has maybe hits off him and goes in, gets a good assist. Then I think the confidence will follow, and we'll really see where he's at. But from that point of view, so we're going to give him much more time. And as Evan said, the team's probably the worst it could be at the moment. So coming into that can't be easy. Regarding the player profile, I think that's an interesting one, Grizz. I think the first one would probably say that's changed our opinions was the Nunez signing. That's kind of went a little bit different. However, that's been effective. The Gakpo one, I think because we've had Mane, who literally pressing machine, scored lots of goals from that side, but then could play the 9 as well. We're comparing him with one of the greatest signings Liverpool have ever had, 35 million. Comparison. I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater right now, Grizz, and say we need to wrap it up because I still think you've got to give Gakpo a chance, and there will be a few other signings to come in. But what I would say, from what we've seen this season, is like you say, rip it up and go back to Type 1. Well, to be perfectly honest, we've only really had great success with Type 1 in the sense of playing that way. We've had what's the word? There's been changes within that, but realistically, it's been an athletic midfield, who can press high and do that. Yes, when we won the league, there's more control and controlling games, and being defensively solid. I agree with that as well. So I feel like that's still got to be the way we do it, and that's the way we've been effective. And I feel like once we get the midfielders in, we'll see that. But for the moment, with regard to rip it off, I don't even know if the profile has changed, Grizz. It may be just, I don't know if what we're left with now with, i.e. more technical midfielders as being this, amazing and plan in advance, or it's just happened because of poor continuity. I feel like it may be the latter there. But I feel like I'm going to give the next few signings before I completely judge on our role profiles, if you will. But I know Cav mentioned in the chat, and I'm going to let you segue about our DOC, the director of football, your scouts. That's obviously going to be quite important as well. So I'll let obviously you speak about that.
Yeah, there you go.
I was going to say one thing. Just one real quick thing. It's quite interesting. I feel the Gakpo thing, is that we've almost like had to replace Mane twice, because I do have the opinion that Luis Diaz is a phenomenal presser, great dribbler of the ball, can hit a ball. But I always feel like in terms of creatively creating something from the left-hand side, having an eye for the pass, is something that I don't think he necessarily has. Gakpo is technically a very good footballer from the wide, and he can pick a pass, he can pick a cross on the head. And I feel like Mane did both. So I feel like we've almost got them both in that situation where they kind of complement talent we've lost. And that's more of a compliment to Mane, because Mane could do it all, right, as a player. And that's where I see the Gakpo fitting in as an alternative on our wide situation.
I think people need to make a differentiation. We're not talking about whether we should have signed a midfielder instead of Gakpo. That's an entirely different conversation.
Absolutely.
We're just talking about what Gakpo has done so far, because we accept we're not time travelers and can't go back in time and change things. So that's the key differentiation we're trying to make here. Obviously, I speak for every single person on this panel when I say we wanted a midfielder. Everybody wanted a midfielder. No one is going to disagree with that. I say that confidently. But this is what we've decided to do. And to echo what Keith said, I see people in the comments, viable points. Is he a Liverpool player? Is he a Liverpool winger? Does he do any of Diaz's strong attributes better than Diaz? Well, the answer would be no. And to those people, I would ask, do you want a bunch of clones like across the front line? I, for example, think it's cool that we have an explosive, direct, hyper athletic winger like Diaz on the left wing, and we have more of a creative, physically imposing character like Gakpo on the left wing. I don't want a direct clone of Luis Diaz, right behind him. I want, in an ideal situation where everyone's fit, for Klopp to look at the right back and the system that we're playing against and be like, Diaz would be better going against this back line. Gakpo would be better against a team that parks the bus. These are great problems to have. So I want both players. I want both profiles. I do not want a bunch of second string options that are the exact same profile as the guy they're being benched for.
This is why I said yesterday. I said it, didn't I, on yesterday's show, where I said, I genuinely believe, lads, next season, fingers crossed, touch wood, prayers, whoever believes in whatever, if we get our full quarter of attackers fit next season, we will be the Premier League's top scorers. Nunes, Jota, Diaz, Salah, Gakpo, and Bobby. I don't see any other club with that variety of attack. We've just been absolutely mashed with injuries. And I genuinely believe if we have those 6 options, I haven't even mentioned Carvalho or anyone else as a backup or whatever. If we have those 6 for 75% of next season, I genuinely think we're going to be the top scorers in the Premier League. Clip this up. Do what you got to do. Come back to me. I'm telling you now. Cav, I don't know. I think you wanted to maybe come in on that, and then also the point that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, just quickly on the Gakpo signing. I think personally that it was a bit of a panic buy. I think that there isn't necessarily a plan for him. And whilst I agree his skill set is different to the forwards that we have, that only works when all the forwards are fit and he's an option. I don't like the idea that we don't spend a lot of money. We've virtually been told by Klopp that we're not going to sign anyone this January transfer window, right? Why we're signing a player planning for next season when he becomes an option? I'd much rather get somebody in now that's going to affect the team now. And if we're going to, like Trossard went for 27 million, I'll be honest, I'd have probably been happier with that kind of deal. Experienced in the league, already playing well, already in form, £10 million cheaper. Could he not have just come in and helped us out already? And then next season, guess what? He is an option still. He might not be totally different to the forwards we already have, but he is slightly. But there's depth. The guys up front are quality. We just needed the depth behind him. I thought Trossard would be good depth. And also we talk about the profile of the player. If he's coming in to play left wing, play him left wing. We play 4-3-3. That position's there. But if he's coming in to play a number 10, a floaty role, we'll change the formation now. Change it now. What's the point in waiting? Why not prepare for next season by playing the players you've got now and brought in and seemingly have a plan for in their positions? Do you know what I mean? What's the point in what we're going to do here is get Gakpo, who plays off the left wing. We're going to play him up front for the remainder of the season. We're going to go into the pre-season, switch him into a 10 if we go to a 4-2-3-1, and expect him just to hit the ground running the following season with a position change. I just don't get the thinking. If that's the guy that you wanted, right, then just play him where you expected to play him when you bought him and you scouted him. And if it's not the position that you're going to play next season, or put him in the one for next season. I mean, this season's pretty much a write-off anyway.
So is that kind of related to what you wanted to speak about, and you mentioned it yesterday? Today, sorry, in the group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That does there seem a lot of confusion with everything we've done, and does that stem from having a director of football, our second one in a matter of 12 months, guys? So and sort of a lot of the backroom staff leaving. So does that stem from director of football uncertainty? Type of profile that we've mentioned? Are we going towards? So are you suggesting that? Well, why are you suggesting? Tell the people what you were suggesting.
I think that I think we as Liverpool fans, we've been privileged really to witness not only a good team but such a good structure behind the team with Michael Edwards and the scouts and our analytical database and how we narrow down the profile of players that we want. We're willing to wait for them, and it's all benefited. But what's happened is at the very top of this tree, there's been a change, because as we've seen, the owners have come out and said we're looking for minority investment, but we're led to believe, and we read between the lines, we think they want to sell. So there's a shake-up at the top. Michael Edwards, who was brilliant, let's face it, at his job, right, in both selling players, because we recruit some good fees for some likes of Solanke and Brewster and this and that, but also getting players in at some good prices as well, okay? And his scouting department work below him, he's gone. So the next man comes in, okay? Julian Ward. He was shadowed into the role, so he should be good, but he's going as well. And the point I was trying to make when I brought this up was, we're making strange signings at the minute. So people are like, I don't quite get it. So who's making the signing? Is Klopp getting more power? Is he picking the players that he wants? And if that's the case, like we talk about Gakpo, where does he even fit in? Where does Carvalho fit in? Why isn't Elliott being played as a 10? Like things like this. And then you think, well, if it's Julian Ward, well, does it really make sense that the guy leaving in 6 months is making these deals? Because for me, I believe that this season is a very tall order to get through, to get a trophy or finish top 4. I'm going to be honest. I want them things, but I think it's going to be very difficult from here on in to get that. So I'm looking towards next season. I'm thinking, what can we do now to prepare and get ourselves back to being where we want to be next season? And for me, keeping Julian Ward in place until the summer, and then at that point replacing him, and then looking almost immediately to make transfers doesn't quite make sense. For me, I kind of think, why not? The minute he says he wants to leave, let him go within a month, right? Get your replacement in. Let that replacement speak to Klopp, or part of the interviewing process. Agree what next season's going to be. Agree what the future of Liverpool is, both the player profiles that they want, the style they want to play, the formation they're going to play, what players are now dead food and we're going to move on, so we need to replace. Get all these conversations going now, so that the guy that's coming in can go, do you know what? I like all the analytical data we've got. I like the way you've been doing it. But to do that now, we're going to have to maybe change staff. We're probably going to have to scout this player a bit more. We're probably going to have to go further afield out of Europe and this and that. Start to get the bodies in place. Start to get the scouts in place. Maybe change a few. But do that from now until the summer. So when summer comes, instantly it's like, bang, meeting, end of May, Klopp, we're sitting down. I mean, these things happen anyway, or fortnightly meetings and stuff. But we're sitting down. We know what we want to do next summer, because we've been speaking about it, next season, because we've been speaking about it for 6 months. And guess what? We've been planning for 6 months. We've been talking to these players. We've been talking to the agents. We've been working on deals. We've been scouting this player. You said you wanted to move away from getting the top 3 in the analytical data. So we've gone and we've actually watched these players instead. Do all of that so that you get to the summer and you get to pre-season and you're fully prepared for the new season. And I just don't see how that happens when Julian Ward just walks away in the summer, and then suddenly new guy comes in. He's got to get all the stuff in his desk, move into his office, and then start assessing things. And then a week later, start making signings. I don't see how that's good preparation. Now this all changes with the ownership, of course.
Floor opens because I try to make agendas, and I've been trying to make agendas for a year with you guys, and I know I'm crap, but Cavs kind of smashed it. Probably one of the best talking points of the year. What's your thoughts on it? The floor's open to you guys, because it does get you thinking, doesn't it? Julian Ward, we know he's leaving. We've just discussed profile of player. We've discussed what's the plan for some of these players and incomings. What kind of players are we looking at? So we know we're looking at Jude Bellingham's. We know we're looking at Mateus Nunes's. Is that his first name? We know we're looking probably that's it. Probably a centre back. So we're looking at those kind of profile of players. Does it tie in with what we've done before, like me and like Conroy was talking about, in terms of, are we going to revert back to the powerful, athletic type of midfielders? Do you get what Cav's point is, guys? And what's your thoughts on it? Or should we, if the director of football is completely different to Edwards, and the analytical team, a lot of it, the key elements of it have gone and haven't been replaced yet, there is a lot of questions there, isn't there, guys? Whatever.
It's wildly worrying. I am, and I say this like complete like seriousness and intent. I am much more worried about sort of the off the pitch disconnect we've been hearing about than anything on the pitch. I am much to go through 2 sporting directors in the space of 12 months. And in the years prior to that happening, we were told endless anecdotes and stories about how Liverpool were the epitome of off the pitch health and functionality and checks and balances and this, that, by reputable, reliable people. So you know it's true. And for us to go so far, stray so far away from that so quickly, and to essentially push these guys out the door, sort of a generational director in Edwards and his understudy, his prodigy in Ward, that's extremely worrying to me. And Cav asked, why don't these things happen now? Why isn't this planning being put in place now? As much as I want these things to happen now, obviously I want instant. I want people to be working around the clock to remedy the situation. I just wonder if it's a bit pointless if we don't know who the next director of football will be. We don't know what type of recruitment model we'll have a month from now. What would be the point in establishing a game plan for the summer when you're not sure what your budget's going to be, when you're not sure what's going to happen? What's the budget going to be? What type of technical director are we going to have? What sort of requirements, what sort of limitations or easing of restrictions are new owners going to bring to the table? I think not only for us fans is there this laundry list of question marks about what's going to happen in the near future for the club. I think even for guys like Klopp and Pep Linders, those questions are even more prevalent. Obviously they're privy to things that we have, not even the faintest idea about. But I just wonder if they are also kind of like us, being forced to wait. But to be honest, I completely disagree with what's been, told, by Paul Joyce and, The Athletic recently about how, Pep Linders and Klopp are the be all and end all of transfer discussion, transfer recruitment. I am incredibly devoted to an analytical approach where we let guys like Edwards and Ward do their job, flex their connections. We let, our recruitment mechanism function how it used to function, because we are blessed with having a generational manager, a guy who can turn water into wine, a guy who can take what the rest of the world sees as sort of a B-list talent like Mane and Salah at the time, and then 6 to 12 months after signing, they're considered an A-plus player, an A-plus talent. I'm not sure why we've strayed away from that approach. Obviously,
because I think subconsciously, subconsciously, our owners have checked out. I think when you look at the timelines, I think one of the most significant impacts to our ownership and the way we operate from a transfer and player scouting strategy came with COVID. COVID really wiped away what type of momentum they were building, right? They were making players, they were being able to sell them, they were being very savvy in the transfer market, and obviously we operate in the model we operate, but then COVID comes and obviously everyone becomes broke and no one's going to spend 45 million pound on your second or third choice midfielder you don't want anymore, or your young buck for 30 to 35 minutes. That people are not going to spend that kind of money. So our owners go and make a power play to join to have the breakaway, not breakaway, but have the new European Super League, because it's going to inject endless amount of funds. And I think at that point they saw it as we had this model of running the football club, but that model, so does everybody else now with just shit ton more money. Let's be honest, right? City have a model that is imperious and slick. Newcastle are building that model that's slick, and are going to be able to do some great businesses and stuff like that with the money behind them. And I think with FSG, they kind of got to a point where we lost out to big bucks on sales due to COVID and the bounce back from that. We didn't get what we wanted with the payment. Do you know what? Actually, maybe football isn't much for us anymore. And I feel like at that moment, the turmoil started to bubble up. And in chaos comes opportunity. So to Evan's point, I actually believe that Jurgen Klopp and Pep Linders have had more of a say, purely because the structures that are above them at this moment in time don't have the power to kind of bring everybody into the room. I feel Michael Edwards carried that power more than maybe a Julian Ward. So when Klopp really likes a Darwin Núñez, and he sees the opportunity that this is going to be the decision that I'm going to make to change my forward line, I'm going to be much more bullish than maybe being put down by sporting directors and strategy and stuff like that. The question now becomes when the new owner comes in, because all the signs lead to ownership. You notice it in the people that leave a business and company. It happens in corporate. It happens in all sorts of life, right? The question will be, when the owners come in, are they then going to build a system and a strategy of sporting directors, analysts? Are they going to bring in like what Newcastle did, or are you going to get an owner that's just going to trust in Klopp, and Klopp being the big name and Klopp being the power, the man in there, and say, look, we're going to take your lead? And for me, I worry about that. I actually am more and more bought in. I'll finally watch the film Moneyball. I've never actually watched it. I finally watched that film, but you see the difference in terms of the experience and the know-how of the data guys and the salespeople who negotiate and make connections in the industry, the sporting director, their capabilities to be able to provide the manager with the players and they can take it in that direction. I think that's much more better, because the manager ultimately can't do both. And Klopp has alluded to it many times. He said it, but who does?
And also,
go on. Yeah, no.
And also, like Conroy said, it's the only system we know that's worked for Liverpool, and the proof's in the pudding of the success that we've had in terms of winning the Champions League, the Premier League, and all the domestic trophies, whatever, because of this system that they implemented and believed in and trusted. And there is uncertainty in terms of how will the new owners see this project now going forward, with, as Keith says, other clubs implementing our system, but with more investment, with more money pumped in as well to top it up. So we have a structure in place, we have all the data and analytics, but we have the ability, I'm talking about other clubs, have the ability to suddenly put in a £100 million player on top of all the smart buys that everyone else is doing as well. So we have to move with the times, and I think the owners have realized they can't. So there is a bit of uncertainty. Con, haven't heard from you on this topic. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think actually all three, Cav, all four of you actually made really good points there. I think Evan, I thought about this earlier because Cav actually raised this up in the chat. I think it's a great talking point. Evan makes the point about you don't know who to get or what you're going to work with. So you don't know if you've got a treasure chest to use, or you're going to have to be really pragmatic, or or the range of where you can go. Like if you look at like a Newcastle example, Newcastle have been quite smart with their purchases. They've put a value on a player. If the team wants more than that, they walk away. So they can't be daylight robbery. They can't be a mug to other teams. I feel like you know what you have, and then you can work around with the director. So I completely hear what Evan's saying, and I think he's spot on with that. But then at the same time, Cav saying that if you have a job and someone actually get a chance for the rest of the season to come in, understand the philosophy you want to use going forward to maintain the type of players you can go for, could be invaluable as well. Because this is why I agree with both points. Because the thing is, what Cav's saying is, so say we get bought over and say someone comes in the summer, right? How often have we seen it takes at least a season for a coach and the manager and the director of football to really firm up on the signings they want? Like the first signings don't always work out. Like that doesn't happen that often. You get a few good signings, but it might take a bit of time. So I feel like both those points I actually agree with both of them. I just think realistically what Evan's saying, until that's signed over and you know how much money you've got, unfortunately that's the way it works. And it's annoying and it's frustrating. So I think Cav, it's a very good point, because I will add as well, I don't want this notion of what happened with Arsene Wenger to be Liverpool. I don't want it. I don't want sentimental AFC about making decisions. Directors of football have shown, especially in the last 5 years, right, maybe longer as well, it's very key to have directors of football who can make the call. And their one job, I'm sure it's quite a large job, but they will live and die on the heels of their signings. Jurgen Klopp to do that, have a discussion till 2 a.m. about who's signing the January transfer window, then going to do training at 9 o'clock the next day. It's not helpful. You can't really do that anymore. You look what happened to Wenger by the end, right? That's a very good comparison. It really is. And I don't want to see that. There has to be someone who, like, listen, of course he's going to have a say in the matter, but there has to be, like, if it was through Klopp with a Julian Brandt instead of Mo Salah, right? And I'm not saying Klopp was wrong there, but there has to be a bit of give and take. It can't just be my way or the highway with Klopp when it comes to signings. And I think it's unhealthy as well to have someone who manages and monitors all that. So for me, I think it's invaluable. And that's why, unfortunately, I just think Evan's got a point, his point, until it's signed over, we're not going to be able to use this time, which is very annoying because, Cav, because I think you've made a very good point. So, and Keith made a good point as well.
I don't want to be like correct, but I think I am incorrect. And Pixelated Pigeon, one of my favorite viewers of the show, the structure of the club is in purgatory until the ownership is resolved. This is kind of what we've been circling around the entire hour and 55 minutes as we've talked about transfers, tactics, personnel, directors of football. It's all related to this. And it sucks because it centers around such a hotbed topic that is FSG. And they, like Grizz alludes to at the start of the show, they are not going to sell the club for £500 million less because of a hashtag. So people have nowhere to vent their frustrations. And I'm extremely frustrated because I need clarity. I have so many questions and so many anxieties and all this anger that I have nowhere to put, because I think it's unfair to blame certain players and certain figures at the club. But at the same time, we're kind of just being held hostage until FSG allow us to get a glimpse of what our future might look like. And like Keith said, really quickly to end on it, I don't want new ownership to come in and reinforce what is currently happening. I want ownership to come in and have strong admiration and strong respect for the generational figure that Jurgen Klopp is, rightfully so. But I want them to be equally strong in the reinstatement of, a reliance on a sporting director, a reliance on a checks and balances system. I still want Klopp to have final say, because at the end of the day, he's the guy with the secret sauce. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I do want a strong checks and balances system where everyone is respected and everybody gets to do their job.
Cav, you made a brilliant talking point there. You have the final say. It's only right. We've had our say. What do you think on the whole situation before we wrap it up?
Yeah, great points from everybody. I'm pleased that the topic brought up some conversations, and it wasn't just the conversation of FSG out and not just the conversation about football. Actually, what we're doing here is we're seeing that the foundations that have been laid and been so strong for so long, they're wobbly at the minute. And until we get decisions made up top, we're probably not going to get much consistency on the pitch. If you need an example, look at Newcastle. The minute they took over, they started playing better. You're like, why? It's the same players. I'll tell you why. Direction. You need direction. You need to know where you're going. And we need a common direction in both the players, the management, the staff, and the fans. We all need to know where we're going. And I think until that takeover happens, or a decision's made with minority shares and all these things, right? Whatever it is, we just need, the sooner we know, the better. Then at that point, I think we'll start to improve. Until then, I think we're going to be in this inconsistent stage. So we've probably got to be patient. These things don't happen quick, but I really hope we don't get to the summer before a decision is made, because I think we're wasting very valuable time this season.
Yeah.
Some great points, very well made. Just the last couple of super chats before we wrap up, guys. Shane McGee says Gakpo needs time but has shown nothing of promise. Why buy him if not to make some kind of immediate impact? Money should have been spent elsewhere. I think we've discussed that. I appreciate the support. He says, Dean says it sucks we are linked with everyone, but the window is almost closing right now. No signing. Who is to blame for this? Your thoughts on Zaniolo? I'll answer
made out of gingerbread.
I'll answer the easy part, and then if anyone wants to answer the hard part, who's to blame? Because thoughts on Zaniolo. I think before his injury, he was one of my favorite wide forwards. Wow, I love this guy. Absolutely love this guy. Plays for Roma, dashing winger, almost Chiesa-like. Had everything: pace, power, trickery, goal scoring. He's had some horrific injuries, horrific. Roma wouldn't let him go and Roma are actively trying to sell him or are willing to sell him. So they wouldn't sell him if they've seen something that is not the same since his horrific injuries. A sad state of affairs with Zaniolo. Anybody wants to know why no signings? Who's to blame? I think we already know.
I think
it's a whole constitution problem.
Absolutely. I think that was covered well by Cav's question, actually. I think that answers our slow and inactivity.
Yeah, exactly.
It is frustrating as well, guys, because, you know, up to the end of the month, you keep seeing deals that, for example, like Camavinga, I don't know if it'll happen, but to go on loan to Arsenal, like something like that is very frustrating, like, because there is deals to be done that you could improve this team a lot, and even to the end of the season if it was a loan deal. And it's like we're going to see a few more examples of that before the end of the month. And I think we'll all agree, everyone in the chat and everyone in the panel, it's going to be quite frustrating seeing that on social media and looking like we're not going to sign anyone again. So it's very frustrating.
What a fucking player he is, by the way.
What a player.
Eduardo Camavinga.
Camavinga.
Yeah, stop it, guys. Don't do this, man. Come on, stop it. Our resident Arsenal fan is in the building. Zayn Miassi, of course, is. Grizz, did you see our masterpiece? Liverpool never catching Arsenal for the next few years. Enjoy, my son. Enjoy. Winter is coming. Enjoy. Guys, I want to thank you guys first and foremost for making me feel better. I was down watching Arsenal Man United. I was thinking that was us, man. Not Man United, but the Arsenal one. I was a bit down. I done a call-in show yesterday, which was magnificent, by the way, guys. Uncle Albert made another appearance right near the end. If you want to fast forward don't listen to me and Cav. Fast forward to the last 20 minutes. Uncle Albert smashed it again. But guys, I want to thank you guys for making me feel better. I hope pretty much 600 of you non-stop for the 2 hours feel better. I think this was one of the best shows we've done, considering where we're at. And we love and appreciate your support. If you haven't liked the stream, I'm speechless if you haven't liked the stream because you've stayed with us. So we should have around 600 likes. Yet we've got just under 400. Smash up the likes. Thank you, Pixel. Really insightful stuff. Big up the panel. Cheers, chat as well. Chat's been amazing. Of course, listen, guys, in the chat, you guys are going to agree, disagree with our opinions. FSG out, owners out, Klopp out, fan channels out. We're licking this man's backside or this woman. We're doing this, you're doing that. It's all part and parcel of opinions and life and society. But as long as you keep it within limits of respectability, I will allow you to continue to have your opinions in the chat and I will bring it up. But the moment you start trolling and spamming and saying the same shit, this is not the channel for you guys. I'm telling you now, we appreciate and we love all opinions. And we've seen loads of different opinions tonight in the chat and even amongst ourselves. But guys, keep it respectful. Don't spam. Don't say the same thing and start getting personal about it. It's not a good look. I'm sure you guys were raised better. That's all I will say. Just want to say thank you, everyone else as well. We reached 23,000 subscribers just in over a year. That's amazing support and love. Couldn't do it without you guys. And we keep it moving. We try to get better, just like we hope Liverpool keep it moving, try to get better. And let's see how it goes. We now have a FA Cup weekend to look forward to, away to Brighton. It will be interesting. No, guys, you're laughing, but I don't know, man. I want to see something, guys. I want to see something because that was the most embarrassing performance probably ever. Yeah. Let's see what we've learned, guys. Let's see what we've learned. Yeah. Apart from that, guys, is there anything else that you wanted to say before we close out?
No. Road to 25k subs.
Let's do it.
RedFellas Sunday night. Say it, Con. Say it, Con.
No,
you've got 2 seconds.
Rumor has it if we get to 25k, Cavs applying to Love Island next year. So that's it.
I'll see you there.
25k and Keith gets rid of that wonderful, amazing hair.
Oh,
Now we want to see that clean.
Oof.
That's 50k. That's got to be 50k.
I reckon
That's gotta be 50.
I reckon if you get
Alright,
rid of
50K.
all your facial, I reckon if you get rid of that facial hair, right? Sorry, the hair on your head, and just keep it going. I reckon there's a rock underneath there, man. Look alike. I'm telling you, man. You could
Don't
be
gas me.
you,
When my time is ready, I will be there. I promise. But yeah, 50k, and I'll think about it. 50
Alright.
subscribers, I'll think about it. Yeah, 50.
people. We out of here. RedFellas Sunday night. Take care.